Well, what can I say? Once again, House of the Dragon delivers with, full-on brutal battle. You know the war is afoot, and all of that. No, not literally afoot. Means it's on its way. And did see aftermath in some scenes of battles and whatnot. And there was a little bit of that here leading up to the big battle. And, boy, it's full-on. Brutal slaughter. And, of course, they have air cover. Both sides do in the form of dragons. And so you get a dragon battle. And it's all very well done. All very well brutal. And also reminds you of that lesson with these fantasy stories and fantastic things and superhero movies and, dragon fights and stuff. Hey, wouldn't it be cool to live in a world with fantastic things like that? No, it would not. Boy, it was, I mean, you get barbecued by dragons on the battlefield. So, yeah, it didn't work out so great for him. As for the rest of it, there's interesting mirrored scenes between the two mothers, Rhaenyra and Alicent, talking to their sons. And, of course, in Alicent's case, her son, he's the king, but he's a total idiot and just a spoiled brat, and you got to take some amount of responsibility for this. But then again, everything was manipulated by her father, getting them all in these positions for power, and then it backfired on him, Aegon didn't listen to Grandpa, and it doesn't turn out well for him. Of course, she's pointing it out that he's been irresponsible and bratty and whatnot. And it's all true, and she's cutting him down to size and saying, you need to, grow up here and get your head screwed on straight. You're screwing up all over the place. But it doesn't have the effect it's supposed to because, again, he's an idiot. So what does he do? Well, he suits up, hops on a dragon, and heads to the battle. Well, he's not as good at this as he likes to think he is. So he goes up against Rhaenys. Rhaenyra was going to go, but they all said, look, the whole point of this war is for you to get to that throne. If you die, well, might as well quit. The same was true for Aegon. But he was stupid, so he went. Rhaenyra relented. And Rhaenys goes. Now, Rhaenys is, well-trained and all this. She understands how to handle dragons and whatnot. And she's really beating the crap out of Aegon in the battle. But don't worry, his one-eyed brother Aemon shows up. Turns out that was Sir Criston's plan of winning this battle. Didn't know that the king would show up, so that was put a bug in the soup here. So suddenly the king shows up, and he's like, "Huh?" And of course, it doesn't go well. But the battle's going pretty bad. But then here comes his one-eyed brother on his big, probably the biggest, most monstrous dragon of all of them. Shows up to seemingly save his brother, And that was the plan. Again, that was the plan. They were going to march. Here comes Rhaenys' dragon. But don't worry, we've got something to match that and win the day. But the stupid king shows up. So the king's in trouble, he's panicking. And then he sees his brother coming. He says, oh, thank the gods. Well, one-eyed brother remembers that night in the brothel. And the king and his buddies stormed in and laughed at him while he was naked with this prostitute that he's apparently obsessed with, probably in love with if he's capable of it. Aemon's a monster, he has this cold, stoic exterior that shields a burning rage. And that's what he unleashed on his brother. Of course, there's the line of succession, too. Yeah. So down went the king. Meanwhile, Rhaenys has to keep the fight going on. And she gets some pretty good licks in because, she knows how to do this. But Aemon's dragon is far superior and gets the drop on her. And that's it for Rhaenys. But, well, she went out in a blaze of glory, no other way to put it. And Kristen gets knocked out in the big, explosion of dragon warfare, but survives, wakes up, and says, "Oh my God, the king went down. We've got to find him." He goes, and Aemon's there with his sword drawn to make sure. And Sir Kristen finds the remains. The dragon's still alive, breathing, but, and you get, it's interesting how it ends. I'm assuming Aegon's dead. You see a bit of his body there in the midst of the, scarred ruins of the dragon. And then Kristen falls to his knees. He's devastated. The one job he had was to protect the king. And, well, that didn't go over well. And Aemon just walks off. So I guess Aemon's king now, unless, a very badly burned and messed up Aegon survives, which, whoops. You only got one eye left, Aegon. But now it looks to me that's the deal. And of course, in the pursuit of power, when all you lust for is power, there are no friends in that world, not even amongst family. These are all very broken people that are corrupted by this pursuit. And even people who seemingly had some amount of conscience at the beginning. Certainly Rhaenyra and Alicent did, when they were young and all that. But as it goes forward, which one of them is the hero of this story? There isn't. The dragons, they don't know. They just do what they're told. I mean, come on. They just want to be good pets to their masters. Poor bastards. A couple of them had to go down for this, So, I guess that's the only good guys, if any, to have any sympathies for. The dragons themselves as this goes forward. But damn, quite an entertaining episode. None of the gratuitous sex scenes as the last episode, which in my opinion went way too far. I get it. It's a brothel. You don't really have to show everything of the brothel. But here, other elements is what's going on with Daemon, as either his conscience is weighing heavily on him and he's starting to hallucinate guilty visions, or this mysterious woman, which is what he suspects here, is doing this to him with some mysticism, Or, as she says, the castle is haunted, and so it torments people. But then again, it doesn't take much to trigger the guilt that he has for all his sins. Not the least of which is the incest that goes on here. But there again, that goes a long way in explaining the constant psychosis that seems to develop within these families. You might want to rethink that, but a little late now. So, full-on brutal battle. And it's only the 4th episode, so more to come, I'm sure. The only drawback, and of course there's no way around it, is there's mention of the overall prophecy that is fulfilled in the Game of Thrones series. Rhaenyra relays this to her son for the Song of Ice and Fire story. And again, with Game of Thrones, the way it ended, it was so sloppy and slapjob nature of it. However, the plot points, given the necessary time and care, which would have, I'm guessing, would have at least taken maybe 2 more seasons for that, to give it the due diligence and time to get there. You just can't have Khaleesi suddenly go crazy and become a mass murderer like that. And other things in the Night King just all that buildup, and that's it. I mean, you might as well have had him slip on a bar of soap in the bathtub and hit his head on the piping and stuff like that. Yeah, no, that's the way for him to go out. But certainly, with how they handled the end for Khaleesi, that was awful. Her going crazy like her father, you could get her there, but you really need to develop that after everything she had been through. She survives all that, and so yeah, that's the big problem for it. Unlike others that screwed themselves up with idiot plot points and stupid things, the elements of this could have been construed well. It wasn't, and that's always the downside of this. And so I realize it is the story, it is the nature of it. It's the only way to just sort of ignore how they got to those points to appreciate the overall narrative here, that the prophecy in the Song of Ice and Fire is what these rulers find out about and what they are awaiting. It's not going to happen in Rhaenyra's time, but she's aware of it and knows they have to lay the groundwork for rulers to be prepared to fight this great war that will be upon them at some point. So anyway, the red dragon and the gold, and certainly was, but it doesn't mention the big dark green dragon that came. So, yeah, this was a very good episode of House of the Dragon.